Hey bros, hello folks. I have been making a little bit of a little bit of like some RPG with the word that I created for PURGAI actually, which has been a very interesting experience actually for sure, because it is leading me to come up with like new ideas that I haven't really thought about before on how my word should be, you know. I'll just keep this like this playing on background, I suppose. Um, wow, it's kind of weird to me, like seeing myself. Anyway, it's a little bit weird. But that being said, yeah, I'm making like an RPG campaign with the word that I created for this card game, and it has been actually really fun. Like to be honest, I'm surprised at how well the word serves as a platform for RPG, for sure. So, with that being said, um, I'm going to recap a little bit about the story, but like it has really helped me with some lore aspect, like for example, like factions. I haven't really thought about factions, right? Because this is not something that you really think when you're making card games, but you kind of have to make some factions when you're dealing with like RPG players because they will want to join these factions, right? Which is kind of like a bit of a problematic aspect for RPG in a way, but I mean I don't know because it can lead to some fights, right? Some struggles, but whatever. Um, because like a player is like one player is from one faction and the other player is from an enemy faction, and there will be like some GMs are not cool with like the idea of having that. They're like personally, like I think that that's stupid. But some like more like hardcore GMs are like, no, your character should not have feelings. Your character is like a concept, and a concept cannot have like I don't like this kind of like GMing. Like I feel like it's pretty stupid. Cause like for example, I'm Catholic. One of the players playing um, this campaign is a Protestant, right? And I don't like his religion, not one bit. But we're friends and we play RPG together, right? Because he is not the religion that he follows. He is a person of his own, right? I really hate this kind of like concepts. I really hate when people like kind of do this, like when GMs are like, no, we shouldn't, like, the game shouldn't separate their factions and their opinions from who the character actually is as a person, um, because then I don't know what their reasoning is. I just think it's stupid, and I think it's really poor storytelling, honestly. Like I can see like sworn enemies not getting along. Like for example, on the Lord of the Rings, orcs who follow Sauron would never team up with Aragorn, right? I get it. I really do. And that's one thing. But it's another thing when it's like, oh, maybe it's an orc, but the orc isn't like, he's actually like an enemy to Sauron. He doesn't like Sauron. And maybe, he's willing to, like, I mean, I don't know if that's possible in the lore of on the lore of the Lord of the Rings, but, you know, um, it could be a thing, it could be a thing. I feel like it's really, really fucking stupid. Um, what else did I came up with? I also like worked a little bit more on like regions. When I was making cards, I wasn't really thinking like, oh, this card is from that region, this card is from that other region. I was just making cards. I wasn't like really thinking about like where they were from, really. Um, so I kind of like made a little bit of like a separation between like, oh, these characters are from that continent, these characters are from this country and from this city, and I started like expanding on countries and cities and their culture and where they are located on the map and so on and so forth. So that was kind of a positive change for for the game. Excuse me. Um, Let me see. I actually made something here. Let me show you. Right here, right? So like, like I grabbed some cards and I'm like, okay, so these are like iconic characters. These are characters within the card game. You know, these guys are at Eudaimonia, the continent. These guys are at the Euripolus Eudaimonian, and then these guys are on the Sapientia territory, right? So, you know, just some things that you don't really think when you're making a card game, but you think when you're making an RPG. Just a second. There. So without further ado, like what I'm pretty much trying to say is that like this really helped with making the campaign. Sorry for the interruptions. My mind is kind of going elsewhere, and my hands were dirty. Um, well, how can I say this? Okay, let's recap the story. I feel like maybe like every week I can like recap like what happened in the last session. I feel like that could be interesting for the Americans because this is in Portuguese, right? We're campaigning in Portuguese. Um, I made like this YouTube channel for like pretty much everyone from this RPG cycle. Um, Leonardo D20. So yeah, we've been doing that. So the story begins with they being called um, by a so like I guess we can talk about like the characters from the campaign. One of them is like he's a Templar, he's a Crusader, right? He's a Crusader from the Templar Order. He is a soldier. He's a magician, like he's a mage, and he's a human, but his superpower is that he can transform into a lycanthrope. Um, because every human being has a superpower in PURGAI, in case you didn't knew. Um, Let me see. Um, and the other player was like an abyssal, which is like these like octopus people who live on the bottom of the sea in small tribes in solitude. And he's an infiltrator, more like he's more of an infiltrator kind of character. He's a bit of a stealthy boy, and he okay. He was an anthropologue. I don't know what is it in English. I forgot. But he was like someone who studied like ancient Egypt This guy is like really fascinated by Call of Cthulhu, so he tried to make something like that, um, based on his tastes, which is surprisingly like easy to do in this um, setting, actually. So this captain, like this Crusader captain, called um, the Crusader player. His name is Michael. With a letter that had a extreme urgency stamp on it. Um, and basically saying that they are going to like come like as fast as possible. And this guy, knowing like some context, like knowing some people, some sorts, like some stuffs, right? He, feeling a bit skeptical, he called like someone who he knew, who was the abyssal guy, the Dexter. He called him to this adventure in case he might need of his abilities for whatever reason. So upon arrival, like this captain, this crusader captain, tells them that there has been like a treason within the order from the Grand Master of this military base, which is like underground. It's like a secret military base, and there was an infiltration. Oh yeah, because like there was like there's like in the world there's like this world war going on between the continents, like the side of like Eudaimonia and Eurypylus, and the place where they are now is Sapientia. Like they're out, like they're not involved in this war. They're just kind of like watching. But there was like a huge controversy from the Eudaimonian side because one of the Eudaimonian presidents, like Blair, like President Blair, actually threw an atom bomb at the enemies on their own territory in the Eurypylus region, which sparked a lot of like discussion on, first of all, it looks really bad. There's like kind of like their excuse that like in this world, like mages can eradicate radiation from atom bombs, and they really can. Like they can destroy radiation. That's like a spell in GURPS actually, and they can do that. It takes time, but they can do it. Or like it either takes time or it takes like a lot of mages to de-radiate an entire like region, but you can do it like in this universe very easily. So that was like his argument as to why like it's not such a big deal. So what this captain is like telling them is that the atom bomb that this president threw on Eurypylus came from this military base, and it was handled by the it was handled to the president by the Grand Master himself, by his own authorization. So he tries to call them to like get in to infiltrate the base, get the papers, like the inventory papers that show that he in fact um, gave authorization to give one of the atom bombs to that president, to basically just make the organization look bad, look like like it's not good for sure, right? It's kind of like a bit of a blame swapping, right? But I mean, obviously, right? If they did that, they deserve the blame because they are bad. They're bad people, or they're bad guys. So they are called that they're into infiltration and stuff, and to do that without being noticed, blah blah blah. And moving a little bit further, they infiltrate within within the office of the Grandmaster, and they were actually pretty masterful of this. Actually, I'm really impressed with how they did all of it, right? Because I mean, this guy is an infiltrator, so like of course he would have like an easy job with this kind of stuff. But like there was like a camera, like a security camera, like watching them, and they used his um, hacking skills um, to freeze the camera in a way that doesn't like, and they got like a critical role on this. So they made it in a way that like it left like no footprints. So let's say um, pretty lucky. Like I guess it was like beginner's luck, right? Which is really cool to see on this kind of like RPG sessions. Um, oh yeah, and this is like the office, right? This place is the office. I made all of this with AI, by the way. I made all of this with like Midjourney, which is surprisingly good for this kind of stuff because you can make stuff on the fly, which is so helpful actually. Um, you just have to wait a little bit. You have to be a little bit patient. Your players have to be a little bit patient sometimes. Um, but yeah, I make stuff on the fly, and I'm obviously making some stuff prior to the sessions so that I don't have to wait. Um, but I mean, this is really cool. Like the characters, the props, like it looks so awesome actually. And so it really looks like something that belongs to this universe, which is kind of awesome. So there's like a lock in this thing. There's like a sci-fi lock. They have to like he has to use his hacking tools to infiltrate the lock and get access to the thing. But then when he gets access to the thing, there's like a camera inside that is like rotating like left and right, and he has to like use his camouflage because abyssals can be like octopus abyssals can become like invisible. So he uses this to his advantage to go there without being noticed. And he did like a successful stealth roll for sure as well. So he got in there, he got the papers without making noise. Indeed, the Grandmaster had like given like an atom bomb to President Blair from Anemonian, from some Anemonian country. And blah blah blah. We move forth. They get all the papers without being noticed. And then like they hear like some shootings, and then because like one of the players has like the disadvantage that he's enemies with the Order of Crowley, of Aleister Crowley, who are like in this world they are like a faction of vampire mages from hell. So they sent like these four minor mages or vampires from hell to kill him, and they killed this unfortunate Templar cinematically, and that is going to be like the beginning of their first encounter. Now this encounter was supposed to be actually pretty hard, but unfortunately, because I didn't have like the character sheets, I made the mistake of asking for ChatGPT to make the sheets for these characters. And the sheets that the ChatGPT came up with them were fucking terrible, honestly. Like those were like minor vampires, which have like for anyone who is attuned with the system of GURPS, they would have like character points equal to like 50 to 750 more or less. These guys being like literally nobodies, they would be like at 500. Like they would be like the 500s, rather than the 750 um, ones. Maybe I mean it could be more than that, but usually it's around that. Like an accomplished minor vampire would be like at 725. These guys would be like at 500. They would have like a lot of strength, and dexterity and IQ. Like, I mean, they would have like pretty much like all their stats at maximum. They would have like the fight skill in like a pretty decent amount, and some like kind of like magic spell as well, skill. But they would have like dude, they would have like a lot of like strength. I mean, if I was going to make like the their thing like really quickly, let's see. This website is pretty cool, by the way, for those who wanna like master GURPS. Let's see. And why is it not working actually? Oh, there it goes. I guess they would have like 20 strength, maybe. How much is that? 100. Um, how much is that? 220. A little bit more than that. Let's get to the skills real quick. And then innate attack for their spells. And because these guys are mages, they would have like some kind of magery. Let's say magery 2. Right. Disadvantage, I mean, they are vampires, so they are like weak to light. And maybe vulnerable to weak to crosses. Actually, it should be 15. And maybe some kind of weakness, maybe silver, right? Vulnerable to silver, right? So if you attack them with silver, they would take a lot more damage than they should. So now they're at 180. We can put so much more points. So let's just do that. Gosh. Reflexes. What else? Gosh, they can. More HP. More HP could be good. More FP. FP is good actually. Oh, but they're mages, right? So they benefit from having a lot more than that. And maybe a little bit of regen. I don't know about that though. Catfall. Catfall 1. And I guess that's it, right? I mean, this should be like their like, what's it called? Stuff. I mean, maybe one more point in DX and IQ, and that's it. You know, and then maybe 2 less points on HP because they're not gonna need it that much. And yeah, like that should be it, right? That should be like a minor vampire build in PURGAI. They are pretty effing strong. Maybe they don't need to be that strong, but they are pretty based, as it turns out. They are kind of scary, actually. Even though they're minor vampires, they're still pretty powerful. So yeah. But unfortunately, like the AI came up with like the shittiest, like the puniest vampires ever. So anyway, they'll kill the vampires. Between the fights, the Grandmaster Sir appears. This is not the historical Gerard the Saint, um, like the Saint Templar from history. This is another Gerard. And he shows up. He has like 2 lightsabers. He's pretty fucking cool. And he's like, "What the hell is going on here?" he has had like a bit of like that military like sergeant kind of like personality. So he curses a lot, even though he's like a Templar. Um, so because these vampires are so pathetic, the NPCs just shoot them dead, just like that. And then, as a little bit of a cliffhanger, as a little bit of a plot twist, I make it so that like the captain who enlisted the heroes shows up, and then the Grandmaster Sargeha asks like, what the hell is he doing here? If he is like, um, if because this guy is supposed to be like resting, like he's not supposed to be on duty. Um, and then something weird happens because he tells the captain to bow down, and then the captain refuses, and then the Sagihat does something that it's something that exorcists do a lot. He says, "In the name of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I command you to bow down," and then he does it like he's forced to do. And then he says like as a prayer for exorcisms, and then he actually exorcises this guy, and from the like in darkness, like a dark mist comes out of his body and forms the body of a gigantic 3 meters tall. That would be like 3 yards tall, I guess, for Americans. Dragonic demon called Asmodeus, right? And this guy was possessing the captain who enlisted them. So he was calling them like so they were working for a demon actually. Then that's like kind of like a plot twist. As it turns out, I mean they defeat the demon after like a bit of a difficult boss fight. He was very resistant. He had a lot of HP, and he knew powerful fire magic. But after like a long battle, a lot of like dice is being thrown on the table. They defeat the dragon, the demon, and this lady appears, and this lady is actually Pentaclea from like but like in the card game, like she has a bit of a different appearance, you can say. This is her appearance in the game. She's a five-headed dragon. Five-headed dragon. Each head is a different element. But this is her human form, and she's actually like the pontifex of this world. She's like the pope, and she's wearing like I actually made them do like a historic test to see if they would understand what she was wearing. Like what she's wearing is actually the mantle of many colors from Joseph in Genesis, right? She is a saint who was sent from heaven to this world to work as the will of as like the voice of the Lord, basically. And as such, because she's a saint, she has like access to, and because she's like a very powerful saint, she has access to extremely powerful magic. Like she can read people's thoughts. She can perform miracles at will. She is like a pretty fucking big deal in this universe. But she doesn't get like involved in stuff, like not personally, due to the Lord's personal orders, right? So she explains that like the reason why Sargehat has given like an atom bomb to to President Blair was because she told him to, and the reason why she told him to was because God told her to do it, and she doesn't know why. God told her to do it, but she doesn't question it. She just follows it, right? She looked at the body of the young boy who was possessed. Not really a young boy. He looks young, but he's a lot older than he looks like. And she said that the demon has indeed left his body and he will be recovered soon. She gave a gift to Dexter. She gave like a purple lace from her mantle of many colors. Um, she doesn't explain what he does or if he does anything at all. She just says like, "Here, take it," kind of. So she just did that, right? And I think that's it. Yeah. Oh yeah, she also told Sorgehart to hire the octopus boy, not necessarily as a Templar, but just hire him as a agent. And she said that these two were necessary, like they were going to be needed for a catastrophe that is soon to happen in the world that she has foreseen. And she told him to pay them a salary. Um, and so he obeys her, and she hires this guy with a minimum salary, but still, it's something. And yeah, um, so Sangihar in this adventure is going to be the quest giver, right? He's going to be like the overseer, sort of like he's going to be like the main NPC who's going to provide them with information and missions, and sometimes supplies and money and stuff like that. Um, really, really something like he's basically like the Tyrael, you could say, the Tyrael of this party. So they decide to like after all this, they decide to go to the city to see a little bit of the world, see what it's like, um, try to understand a little bit of like the world that I have created. So they go to this like futuristic city that I have created. Um, I actually forgot the name of the city. I feel a bit embarrassed about it, but I do. Um, yeah, this city is like the capital of Polymafia, which is basically like the main country. Like it's the biggest country in the Sapientia area. So they hand over to the bar, right? As many players do on the start of their campaign. Standard stuff. They go there. It's a pretty like neon, like synthwave kind of like ambient. They encounter like an elf. Um, the bartender was like a lizard. Like there was like something funny, like, a little bit of a funny interaction. I was going to make like the bartender to be like a dwarf, and then he was like, "Oh, typical." The dwarf, like the bartender is always a dwarf. I'm like, okay. Then the bartender's a reptilian. Like, gee, bit of a a bit of an interesting interaction there. But yeah, they go there and they meet like a cute little elf, um, who is pretty friendly towards them. Um, there's also like this weird guy from the from a secret society called the Carpenters of Nazareth, which is basically like the Illuminati of this world. And he was staring at the Templar because he has the disadvantage of being enemies with the Carpenters, right? So he was spying on them. This was what he was doing, right? So he confronts them. He arrests this guy. Um, and that's pretty much it. They take him to the police department just to, report that they have like arrested this guy and that they're under the custody of the Templar Order and so on and so forth. And the police officer is pretty like, yeah, sure, whatever, Um, yeah, you do your business, buddy. Blah blah blah. Move forward. They put this guy in the Templars cell to be questioned, interviewed, not tortured, not necessarily tortured, just interrogatory, right? Interrogated, right? Just to be interrogated. Where are you guys? Where could we find you? Blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. It's kind of like basic procedure. Um, the Carpenters are actually like pretty, like they're a little bit different of the like than the Illuminatis because like they are actually like heretics from the past. They are like I don't know how they are like what to say their names. I don't know the name of their orders in English, but in Portuguese they are from the Cátaro order, which was a real order that actually gave birth to the first Catholic Inquisition. And the reason why the reason why the Catholic Church made the first Inquisition was because these guys believed that you could only sin once. So if you sin once, it was recommended for you, like they recommended for you to actually kill yourself so that you don't sin anymore. And they didn't saw like suicide as murder. They didn't saw that as a sin. So a lot of people were killing themselves, and like cities were actually being depopulated because of this order, right? So the Vatican had to respond, or else like kingdoms would just be erased, right? From history because of this heresy. And so they made like the first Inquisition, the medieval Inquisition. They call it the medieval Inquisition because it didn't took like a specific place, like the Portuguese Inquisition or the Spanish Inquisition. It was just it was just basically the whole Europe. And but yeah, like these guys are from like these carpenters are pretty fucked up in the head actually. So they're not a very pleasant bunch, not at all. So moving a little bit forward, they they send the guy to his cell, and then 1 week passes by in the story. Um, and Dexter, the Abyssal, spent the week learning water magic, which is interesting because um, he didn't start off as a mage, but he's learning magic, so that's actually pretty interesting for sure. So they get like the first mission, which is actually pretty cool. I'm pretty proud of like this first mission. As it happens, um, the fungals from the game, actually, in the game they are like Earth and Dark cards, which are like the fungals are basically like fungal zombies, right? They're fungal mutant biohazards. But they weren't created by some kind of laboratory. They're just like I mean it's kind of unknown how they were created. They just are. And I don't want to like kind of like solve this mystery. I don't want to like spoil it. I think it's best if it's left as a mystery. It's kind of like a Joker Origins kind of situation, you know. It's more interesting this way. I feel like. So I'll probably never uncover like how they were created unless like I come up with something really fucking cool, like something more interesting than like, oh, it was just like a laboratory, or oh, it was just like it was just some guy's superpower to become like a fungal or to infect people with the fungal virus or whatever the fuck. It would just be kind of boring. So yeah, like these zombies have attacked a favela, like a goblin favela, a slum, right? The slums, which are governed by a gang of goblin criminals, and they actually have to help the goblin criminals. Interestingly enough, making this mission, I actually thought that they were going to get in trouble with the goblins. I actually thought that they would try to kill them because they were criminals or whatever the hell. But you will see. Uh, Something rather interesting happens. So they go to this back street, which is close to the slums. It's pretty like it's a pretty rough place, honestly. There's like this elf near a diner. There, like this dwarf here is like he's the owner of a garage. He's a mechanic. This guy, I mean, we can like go like one by one, right? So they stop the car there, blah blah blah. They roll for a reaction. They roll really fucking poor. So the elf mistreats the. I mean, the abyssal like gets like a terrible reaction poor, which means reaction roll, which means that he's not going to get to be liked by that NPC. So she just dislikes him. She kind of like doesn't want him in her establishment. Um, the Michael, the Crusader, goes in his defense. He says like, oh, like if you got a problem with him, you got a problem with me. And then she just like kind of like gives shoulders and starts like smoking and like leaves off like let them be basically. So they get in. There's like a feral like there's like a cat boy, a cat man, cat guy on the as a bartender. Cat man. Um, and they ask for breakfast. Um, they ask if there's like anything weird happening, and they said like that they're actually terrified because they heard of like the news about like the fungals, and they're afraid that the fungus might get there, blah blah blah, and they eat their breakfast. And then they go talk to the goblin on the in front of the thing. The goblin is kind of like is frightened, right? He's dozed off and he's frightened because of what he has seen, right? He's seen his friends dying, so he's in a desperate state. Um, so he's trying to like doze off to calm himself, right? And this guy like goes talk to them, like try to see like what happened and yada yada. Turns out that um, I forgot what happened here actually, but they just confirmed that indeed there was like a fungal zombies and blah 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 attacking the place. I don't really remember what happened here, to be honest. I think they tried to recruit this guy to help them, but he wasn't like he was like, I mean, bro, this guy was, I mean, he was just stoned, bro. Like he was just done. Like, so they finish their meal. They go to um, they give like some money to the beggar like to this merfolk beggar and his dog. They ask he has seen anything, but he says that he doesn't. He didn't saw anything. He's just sitting there. He asks if he's like doing something wrong, if they want him to leave, and they just say no. You know, kind of just like a very bit of a sad situation, I suppose, to be in. But it is what it is. They talk to this like implant, like this prosthesis, this implant seller, right? They ask her if there's anything strange, and she says that you guys, like, if there's anything unusual going on, and she says that yes, you guys are unusual. He asks if she believes about the fungal stuff. She says like nah, she doesn't believe in no goblin, and they just move on and go talk to this guy who's a detective, um, who has like the power to multiplicate himself. He can clone himself into different copies. And he claims that he already sent like a copy of himself inside, but the copy didn't came back alive, so it's probably dead. They recruit him, much to my surprise, because this guy is more of like a, it's more of a like a, just kind of like someone to fill them in the situation. But sure, you know, it's an RPG. You can do whatever the hell you want. So he comes with them. I mean, what's in it if he dies? I mean, he's just a copy anyway, right? The original is sitting at home, watching like Netflix or whatever. So they come here, and there's a bit of a situation going on. This orc wants to fight the fungals, like, because as it turns out, he is a celebrity. He's a bit of a wrestler, basically. And he's a cyberpunk wrestler, and he wants to fight for his city. But the military officers that don't let him in because they have orders to not allow any civilians in. Even though this guy is heavily armed, he is fucking huge, and he's a cyberpunk, they cannot allow him to go in. So they interject. They try to tell him, like, you know, like to obey the orders. He insists on trying to help. So they're like, okay, but you have to come with me and you have to follow my orders and blah blah blah. And there is like a bit of like a tension between them, but he agrees, and they let him in, right? So the adventure begins. They come here. It's a slum. It is revealed to them that, like, you know, that like there's all of these like zombies back there, and the goblins are trying to shoot them, but the zombies are regenerating each shoot. Like every time they get shot, they just regenerate the damage that they take, because the fungals have extremely fast regeneration system. So they are basically immune to bullets, sort of. So they get in, they get up this like house to get like I mean, Dexter gets up in this thing to get a bit of to get a better look at them, to get, like, you know, the high ground, which is very important in Jedi culture. The zombies are approaching. There's like a lot of goblins trying to defend the territory, but I mean, they can only do so much. The battle begins. It's a hard-fought battle because of their regeneration system. It's very hard for them to beat them, but they eventually do. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah. They fight the guys. Oh yeah, one thing cool that I did is that each single zombie have like a different special effect. So they're not just like they're not just like generic Resident Evil zombies. Like each one of them has like a special ability. Like one of them can split acid. The other one has tentacles. Another one has like titanium implants that are like metal, like titanium claws that improves his damage, and so on and so forth. That was actually something that I did, and I felt like was pretty interesting for sure. So Michael goes in, which I thought was a bit of a misplay on his part, but I mean, he does what he does, I guess. And you will see why that was on display. You will see soon enough. I mean, he would get damaged because of this. He would get like a ton of damage due to this action, due to this idea. There are the fungos. They are as horrifying as usual. Um, they fight them, and eventually they get ganked. Um, they get ambushed by them. But overall, they do like a pretty decent job against them, to be honest. They do like a pretty decent job actually at containing them without taking heavy damage. A lot of the fungal zombies died without being able to attack even, so that was like pretty impressive on their part. Um, they were also like prepared because like Sahagihara told them that they have a disadvantage to fire, so they knew about that right, already. And ice, they also have a disadvantage to ice as well. Fungals like don't enjoy, like mushrooms don't enjoy low temperatures in general. So they kill the boys, kill them all. And after they finish this fight, you know, they their leader comes to help them, and their leader is a card in the game. It is Craig, the goblin, the leader of the goblin vandals. She she thanks for their assistance. She agrees to join them to fight their boss, which is apparently some kind of like mushroom female on the forests near the slums. The detective realizes that oh yeah, because the detective like he was so poorly in this combat like they gave him like a an assault rifle which he doesn't have like a skill on, so he missed every single shot 2 turns, and then he tried to get his pistol to fire them, and then he got like a critical miss, so he let down the pistol, and before he could shoot again, the battle was already over. So he was literally useless on this combat. But yeah, man. So he like agrees to he agrees that he's not going to be very helpful in the situation. So he just collects some samples of the fungals. He gives like a body cam to the players to investigate further, where they come from, like what are the origins, how can they like prevent it, and yada yada. Just doing his detective job, really. The goblin leader, like Craggy, she lets them know that they can use like their weapons, and they investigate their arsenal. And they pick like a enchanted shotgun that does fire damage, and they also get like some medicine, some healing items and stuff like that, which is probably going to be helpful for them. You always want to have like cure to poisons and any kind of illness when you're fighting fungals and stuff like that. So yeah, blah 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 blah. They also find their money, but Michael, in an extreme act of roleplay, decides to not pick the money because it's sturdy money, which impressed me because it was a lot of money. Like, it was a lot of money. Michael attempts to give the shotgun to Dexter, but he refuses, which I found weird because that shotgun is going to be helpful, and it was something that I specifically gave them to help with the following encounter, but you know, to each their own. You do you, buddy. I mean, I can't force players to play optimally, so it is what it is. Um, following up, they go to like the forests. They see like this guy who's basically patrolling. There's like a lot of like goblin corpses everywhere. They ask the goblin if he saw anything, and he didn't saw anything. They don't believe him, but they make like all of the skill tests that they can possibly do, and they realize that yes, he's telling the truth. He indeed saw nothing. They tried to investigate the body, which was a really good idea on their part actually. They realized that the goblin corpse there that they just investigated was intoxicated in some kind of way by the fungus of the fungals. So they were probably so there was something going on, right? And this goblin corpse had like something going on with them because he wasn't just like eaten alive. He was pierced by two sharp teeth, tooths, teeth. I don't know, fangs. I guess you could say. So they move on, um, and as they do, this poor fellow gets dragged by an invisible animal. And when because like two of them have like infra vision, and as they turn on their like infra vision, they see what the monsters actually look like. They are like these fungal like alien-like predators who look like something from a sci-fi movie. They're actually pretty cool looking. Like, let me see. There it is. That's what it looks like. They're pretty savage. They're not very resistant though, because they're more like they're more for like they're hunters. They're not fighters, right? So they shoot this guy, kill them dead. Um, they're doing really well in combat, actually. I gotta say. Um, but they kill this guy very easily. But then, four more of these boys hop in their direction and ganks them. Like they surround them. And this is where we stopped. So on the next session, they're probably going to fight these boys, and it's probably going to be a lot of fun, for sure, right? So yeah. I'm having a blast, and they're having a blast. This is being like a really fun campaign. This is a really awesome campaign, bro. This game is like this world that I created is surprisingly fucking good at for RPG scenarios because you literally got everything. You got like sci-fi, cyberpunk. You got magic. You got fantasy elements. I mean, bro, you got like so much going on. It's so cool. So yeah, I might keep like you guys filled up on what I'm doing with this thing, because I'm having a blast. Like for reals, this was awesome. So yeah, I'm also thinking about writing a book, a multi-system book on how to play this game for RPG campaigns. I feel like it could be an interesting play for some people who want some kind of urban fantasy. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of urban fantasy around. Like there's not a lot of words around centered around urban fantasy, and the ones that exist, I don't think are very good. They're very limited. I feel like so this is pretty darn good. I feel like. Oh yeah, and like I said, I am really surprised that they like these two like goody two shoes like came from like a slum without killing a single criminal. Really surprised about that because, I mean, eventually these guys might actually be enemies or something. Who knows? But they were like following strictly to the mission. Just do what they were supposed to do. Just kill the fucking fungals and ditch, right? So I mean, bro, this is like amazing. Honestly, this is like AI is helping me a lot to make this campaign more visually appealing for the players and the viewers. Um, Tabletop Simulator, I'm impressed at how good it is for making this kind of stuff. I really am. Mm, it's better than a lot of the VTTs, to be honest. Like for reals. Like this is just I like this is just a perfect storm, honestly. So yeah, this will be it for this video. I will be signing out. I thank you guys very much for watching. If you have like any questions about the world or like the story or whatever, like really, like feel free to ask. I will happily answer them. And yeah, like this is amazing. This is awesome. Like so yeah, good. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. I'll try to make some kind of like weekly video, keep you guys updated. And yeah, so goodbye.